I have three guys that I look at right now that say these three guys will benefit the most from Russell Wilson being the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And while two of them might be foreseen easy candidates, oh yeah, no duh, Noah. Would take you 10 minutes to come up with that one? Like, to really think hard that rattle your brain for a couple hours? There is one shocker that I will get to at the end. The first one is Calvin Austin, who I think benefits the most from this change. I mean, hands down, benefits the most from this change. There is an old saying in the NFL, and that old saying is average quarterbacks do not make great wide receivers do not make average quarterbacks good, but great quarterbacks make average wide receivers good. And Russell Wilson, maybe he's not great right now. Maybe he's lost his spark. Maybe he's done. Maybe he's washed. We have no idea. But if Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson and he looks good and he comes out here and he's able to throw the football and he's able to make accurate reads and his mind can process the field faster than Justin Fields could, then you are going to see guys like Calvin Austin start to branch out and really take advantage of this offense. Because if you go back and watch the last 6 games, Calvin Austin is open a lot. And most of the time, he's just so deep into the read that Justin Fields doesn't get there. And his brain goes take off and run or do something or stare down the first read. And again, Justin Fields should not have any slack in this week. He has been a great quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has done great things. But who Justin Fields is as an athlete and who Russell Wilson is as an athlete are two totally different people. And Russ's strengths are being able to process the field and make those timely, accurate reads. And Calvin Austin is going to be somebody who finds himself, we could find ourselves, maybe not this week, but maybe in a couple of weeks going, man, Calvin Austin is open all the time anymore. That's crazy. Maybe he was open all the time coming into this, but his quarterback, his strengths weren't built to finding the guy who was open on that second, on that third, on that fourth read. Maybe Russell Wilson does. Number 2 on this list is the easy one, George Pickens. Because, man, George Pickens has never had a good quarterback. Let's just be very honest. George Pickens has never once had a good quarterback in the NFL. And Justin Fields has played well, definitely. But Justin Fields is a different type of quarterback than Russell Wilson. And while I say Justin Fields is good, Russell Wilson is a good quarterback. And this is the first time George has a really, potentially really good quarterback throwing him the football. And you just got to think, what could that be? Because if George was in a different offense, if George is we talk about that constantly. If George is in Minnesota right now, if George is in New York with the Jets, if George is in San Francisco, if George is in Buffalo or any of these, Baltimore, but still Zay Flowers makes moves. I'm blanking. Kansas City. There it is. I was like, Tom Brady. What's the other one? Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City. What does George Pickens look like? And everybody would tell you, yeah, he's probably the scariest human being on the planet. He's probably the best wide receiver on the field in most games. And I'm excited to see what George Pickens can do now with a quarterback who's more fitted to what he can do. And I just don't think we have any idea. We have no clue what could come of this because the offense is going to change. Russell Wilson is going to have many more freedoms at the line of scrimmage. The offensive playbook is going to be much more open to Russell Wilson, and it's going to do things like Arthur Smith is going to allow him to take some shots and say, screw it, man, throw it up to George Pickens. Who cares? Just do it. I think George Pickens is going to have, George is a guy that when he leaked that Russ is starting, my mind went, man, I should take him out of my fantasy lineup because, conduct detrimental to the team is a real thing in the NFL, and you just never know. Basketball season is right around the corner, and there are few live events that make you feel as in the moment, and I get it, football season is probably one of them, where you feel like you're there, you're part of the action. Well, let me tell you about Game Time and how Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I decided to jump on and see what Pittsburgh Steelers versus New York Jets tickets look like in primetime. And it took me 3 seats before they hit me with a great deal, telling me that not only are these probably the cheapest, but for the view, they may be the best deal that anybody can offer. Let me walk you through a couple of really nice things about Game Time. First, priority. Game Time Picks curates to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They give you all-in pricing, which means that this feature shows you the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout, because that is the absolute worst thing about buying tickets. They give you seat views because nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to show up not knowing what their view of the stadium is going to look like. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and Game Time ticket coverage, which means that your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And then I thought, man, dude, he's might be the best fantasy football player in week 6 or week 7. Excuse me. He has that potential. And then there's number 3. You'd think it's Pat Freiermuth, but Pat Freiermuth's going to be just fine. And Pat Freiermuth's been good, but the offense has to regulate itself to Pat Freiermuth in order for Pat Freiermuth to take full advantage. And most tight ends are in that same boat. Connor Hayward is not. Connor Hayward is a guy that has incredibly reliable hands, is the most forgotten member of a receiving core anytime he's on the field. Because I said this to you before we got on this podcast. I said, Connor Hayward is on this list. And you said, yeah, because nobody cares that he's out there. And, well, it's true. Nobody cares that he's out there, so he's always open. Go watch 6 weeks worth of film. You want to know who's open more than anybody else in the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room? Connor Hayward. Dude should have had at least another 2, maybe 3 touchdowns this season so far. And again, that's nothing against Justin Fields. It's just not Justin Fields' specialty. That's not what he is built to do. It's not where he's at in his development. I think Justin Fields is a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. I don't want to get mistaken here saying these things. What I'm saying is that Russell Wilson is the guy who finds the open guy. That's what he does. That's what he specializes in. Connor Hayward is going to be open all the freaking time. And I'm telling you, Connor Hayward is going to be a guy that the first 2 weeks of the season, you were looking at this offense going, why are they not using Connor Hayward? What's wrong with Connor? Are they done with Connor Hayward? And then it started to click in my head, like, Connor Hayward doesn't fit in a Justin Fields offense. He just doesn't. He fits in a Russell Wilson offense. And I expect Connor Hayward to have himself a game against the New York Jets and moving forward. Those are my 3. Calvin Austin, who I expect to just blossom into Calvin Austin. George Pickens, who I am just excited to see what could a very good wide receiver be with a better quarterback, a better passing quarterback. And then Connor Hayward, because, I mean, the dude's always open and he can always catch anything. And he just didn't have any. He's never had anybody throwing him the football. Now he's got somebody. What happens? Those are my 3. Calvin Austin, George Pickens, Connor Hayward. I'll toss it to you. I hope we get a nice frozen face again. Thoughts on that list?
I'm hoping I fix the frozen face, because at least this time, I'll be ready for it. I got to get my GQ pose ready. But no, I like the list. I like the list. I was surprised when you said Connor Hayward kind of before the show. I almost kind of wish you hadn't told me, because then I would have had the same reaction, which was, really? I mean, we're gonna go with the 3rd string, potentially 4th string if Michael Pruitt ends up playing 4th string tight end. But at the same time, I mean, you saw him get open against Dallas, and it was just a fraction of an inch off from him getting that first catch in stride against Dallas. He did come back and score another touchdown. against the Cowboys. He's a guy that athleticism wise, yeah, I don't mean to be mean to Connor Hayward. He's still 10 times the athlete I'll ever be. But opposing defenses are going to say, all right, if he catches the ball 5 yards down the field, he's not going to get another 10 yards down the field before we can rally to the football. So they're not going to cover him as seriously as they're going to cover guys like Calvin, guys like Pat, guys like Darnell, who become much bigger issues after the catch. They're going to say, all right, wherever he catches the ball, that's probably where he's going to end up. So we're not as concerned about him. But if Russ can catch him and kind of throw him open in certain situations, I like that as a sneaky, almost coverage beater, because teams aren't going to game plan for him as much as they're going to game plan for the rest of the offense. So I think that's something that Arthur Smith might look at, especially if he's seeing the same things that you're seeing on film, which is he's been able to get open. He just hasn't been able to get the targets to be able to take advantage of it. So it's something that I'm going to be zeroing in on all day on Sunday night.
You already know that you will be getting text messages every time Connor Hayward catches a football, because that's just what, and they're okay with 5 yards. They're okay with 10 yards. They're okay with 15 yards. Like, they're okay with that. You know what I mean? If that's what your tight end is providing you, great. That's an easy 5 yards, but there will be times in the red zone. There will be times on 3rd and 2 where Connor Hayward comes up clutch, because that's what Connor Hayward does. And that's why he's on a football team, is because Connor Hayward is a guy who's made it to the NFL for being reliable in those moments where you need somebody who's reliable. And that's who Connor Hayward is. So I have big expectations for all three of them. If you're somebody who's into taking shots in fantasy football, go get Calvin Austin. Go get Calvin Austin, because you just don't know what's going to happen, but you have to have something in your gut telling you, yeah, Russ and him just feel like they're about to have a very good vibe moving forward. Very good vibe moving forward.